Hi friends, it's Lisa Mears. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I'll be sharing the Stamps of Life club sets for the month of June of 2025. I'll be sharing the Stamp and Die Hard club set as well as the card kit, and I'll be making some cards with these products. So the Stamp and Die Hard club set is called Beach Time. It's perfect for summer card making because it features a beach umbrella and a beach chair. So here's a look at the stamp set. You can see the large beach umbrella as well as the beach chair and these fun sentiments like beach more, worry less, relax, take it easy, got my mind on summer and summer on my mind, and let the sea set you free. There is also a small seashell, some sand dollars, as well as some starfish. So if you're a member of the Stamps of Life Stamp Club, you will get that stamp set this month. And if you're a member of the Die Hard Club, you'll get both the stamp set and the coordinating die. So let's move on and take a look at what's in this box. This is the card kit for the month of June, and this is called Sun-Kissed Smiles. And everything that you see here coordinates perfectly with the stamp and die set that we just saw. So here's a look at the inspiration card. You always get one of these included, and it gives you some ideas to make some cards with the products in this kit. You also get a large plastic storage envelope that you can store your cardstock in or your club contents. There's also a pack of envelopes for A2 size cards. You also get 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock sheets in the colors berry, orchid, slate, sea glass, cantaloupe, mint chip, sunshine, ginger snap, and you get 4 sheets of the powdered sugar, which is the white cardstock. I love this color palette. It is so pretty. Perfect for these summer cards. Okay, here's a look at the paper pad that's included in the card kit. You can see the beautiful beachy designs. I love that shell pattern. And on the reverse are these stars, and you're going to see those stars throughout this paper pad in the different colors of the card kit. You also get this sheet of the umbrellas and beach chairs. So if you have your coordinating die set, you can use the shadow die in that die set and die cut these images, and those make some really quick and easy cards. Here's a page of sunglasses. We also have the star pattern in that berry color. Here is a page that says Sun-Kissed Smiles, and that is the, again, name of the card kit. And you also get the word die that says Sun-Kissed Smiles, and I want you to see that the word die also has the sun in it. So there is the sun right off of the word sun. It's really, really, really cute. So you get a page of the words. There's some more stars, and you get another page of the umbrellas in different colors that you can cut out. Here's a solid cantaloupe page, and I love this sheet with the different colors, and it has a really pretty texture design to it. It almost looks like a sandy background. There's some more stars and some more shells. And then here is another one of those really pretty sandy backgrounds. It almost looks like you have the sky and the ocean with the sand at the bottom. I think that is my absolute favorite one in this paper pad. You can create a really fun beach scene with that paper with the sand, sky, and ocean. Here's a sheet of miniature suns. We have more stars and sunglasses. And then some more stars and some more of the words, and those are just smaller prints of what you saw earlier. And then it starts back at the very beginning. You get 2 of each one of the sheets that are in the paper pad. Also included in this kit is the A1 shell folded die set. You can use this to make a shaped card, or you can put it on the front of an A2 size card. The die comes with these 2 shells that are stacked together, and you also get a single small standalone shell included in that set. Also included are these sentiment stickers, so I'll hold these up close. Lots of fun beachy sentiments like no worries, life's a beach, enjoy every moment, wishing you a breezy days ahead, sun-kissed smiles coming your way. So there's 6 of those, and then you get a pack of summer themed puffy stickers, which include some suns and sunglasses. There are also holographic glitter seashell stickers. These are so pretty. You can see all that sparkle. There are also these starfish embellishments. So go ahead and open these up. And these are perfect for adding to your cards. They do have a flat back, so it's really easy just to add some glue to the back and stick them down to your cardstock. You also get this purple glittery washi tape, which this is something different. Haven't had this in a card kit since I can remember. And it's really, really pretty. You can use that for borders on your cards. So that's everything that's included in this month's card kit. If you are interested in joining a Stamps of Life club, whether it be the card kit, the stamp club, or a Die Hard club, they even have a Fold It club. You can check the link in the description box below where there will be more information for you to join. And if you use my link or my coupon code Lisa Mears, you will get $5 in bonus club points to spend in the Stamps of Life store. And I always appreciate when you click on my link or use my coupon code to sign up because I do get a small commission at no extra cost to you. All right, so let's go ahead and make some cards with these products. So for my first card, I'm bringing in this scallop frame die. It's from Scrapbookcom. And any extra supplies that I use in this video, I will have links down in the description box below as well as on my blog. So I die cut that frame die with this pattern paper. It cuts out the frame and the center, as well as I cut it with some white cardstock. So I'm going to take the white scallop frame and then the pattern paper piece, and I'll be using those two from that frame die that I cut. And then I'm going to add the white frame to this piece of slate cardstock that I cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Next, I'm going to add the inside piece directly to the card layer. So it fits perfectly because it was cut with the same die. I love that gradient look of that pattern paper. So pretty. So here I'm going to add the umbrella and the beach chair. I did die cut those with my dies from the paper pad. And then I'm also going to be including a sentiment sticker. And the sentiment sticker that I'm using, it says "Life's a beach, enjoy every moment." And I chose this sentiment sticker in this color because it matches the umbrella as well as that background paper that I use behind that scallop frame. So I am adding the umbrella first because it's going to be behind the beach chair. I'll go ahead and add the sentiment. And then I'm going to bring in some little seashells from the stamp set. And I'm going to stamp them down on some of this sea glass cardstock. So those are the shells there, the small ones. I'm going to ink them up with some of the black ink. I did stamp them onto some white cardstock first and then just stamped again onto the sea glass cardstock because I didn't want such a black ink on those seashells. And then I took the die and I die cut those seashells and sand dollars, and I'm just gluing them down onto the card. Next, I'm just going to add that layer to an A2 size white card base, and this card is complete. So that was a super quick and easy first card. Okay, let's move on to my second card. I'll be using the A1 shell Fold It die set. I'm taking the large die with the 2 shells and I'm going to die cut this orchid cardstock as well as the berry cardstock. There are 2 shells on it, so I'm going to give each one of them a different color cardstock. Of course, you can make your shells all one color if you wanted to, but I'm going to switch this up, and I'm even going to take the small die and die cut a piece of the sea glass cardstock. So I'm actually going to have 3 different colors for my shells. Okay, so next I'm going to ink up these shells. I just think adding ink to the edges just adds some more depth to these shells. So I'm just using some of my Scrapbookcom inks in some coordinating colors. This is the Mardi Gras ink, and I just inked up the edges with that purple ink. And now I'm going to take the shell and I'm just going to ink up each one of these lines. All of these lines have a little cut mark in them, so you can easily fold the cardstock on those lines to get more ink laid down on that shell. I'm also going to move that small shell out of the way and just ink up the inside there as well as the edge of that small shell. You can see that just adding ink to that shell, it just adds so much more depth and dimension to it. Okay, so that's my purple shell, and I'm going to do the same thing to the pink one. This time I'm using a coordinating pink ink, which is the Confetti pink ink from Scrapbookcom. And I'm just using a blending brush to add ink all along the edges and to those inside lines. Okay, so that one is finished, and I'm going to move on to my small shell. This one I'm using the Scrapbookcom Oasis ink, and I'm just going to do the same thing, ink it up just like I did the others. So we can use them just as they are now, or we can add some more texture and dimension to these shells, and that's what I'm going to do by using my Scrapbook.com markers. So first I'm taking this white marker. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of the ink out onto my mat, just pressing the barrel, and some of that ink comes out. Next, I'm going to take a paintbrush, dip it in that white ink, and I'm just going to flick that white ink on to my shells. If you don't have a marker like this, you can also use some paint. So if you have some white paint, you can just squeeze a little bit on your mat and dilute it a little bit with water and mix it up so that it is not as thick. And then you can flick it on to your cardstock like I'm doing now. So you can put as much or as little as you want on your cardstock, but I love the little white splatters that appear on the cardstock. It just adds so much more life to these shells. Next, I'm taking my Scrapbook.com chocolate glitter pen, and I'm squeezing a little bit of that ink onto my mat, and I'm going to put my paintbrush inside of it, but I'm also going to dip it in some of that white ink because I want to tone it down a little bit. I don't want such dark brown splatters. So by adding it to some of that white, you can see that it mutes some of that brown and it makes it a lighter shade. And then I'm just going to flick that on to my shells as well. So my goal here is to have some of those splatters on these shells to make it look like they've been sitting in the sand and there are little speckles of sand on the shells. And these splatters dry pretty quickly because I only applied a very thin layer, but look how pretty that looks. There's the purple one and the pink one, and then my sea glass little shell. So moving on, I took the shadow die and die cut 2 pieces of the Ginger Snap cardstock, and you can see that it layers right behind that shell. I also took the shadow die from the small seashell and die cut that with the Ginger Snap cardstock. I just cut it in the center of the large shadow piece for the larger shell so that I don't waste any cardstock. And I also ended up making another sea glass shell because I'm going to be making 2 cards with all of these die cut pieces. So I'm going to take the pink shell and I'm just going to use my scissors and snip along this line here to separate this smaller shell from the larger shell. So now I have these 2 pieces, and I'm going to do the same thing with the purple shell. I'm just going to cut along this little line right here and then cut along the top and just separate this shell from the larger one. Now I can switch up the colors so I have pink and purple on one set of shells, and this is going to let me create 2 cards. So next I'll just glue the colored pieces onto the shadow layer. So I glued down the purple piece and now I'll glue down the pink shell, and I'll do the same thing for both sets. And I'll also glue the small sea glass shell onto its shadow layer as well. So you can take that small sea glass shell, you can pop it right there in the middle or put it on an edge and add it to your larger piece. So now that my shells are finished, I'm ready to make my card, and I'm taking this pattern paper and I cut it to 5.5 by 4.25 inches. And I'm first going to set up that piece of pattern paper for a sentiment. And I lined up my sentiment stamp at the very bottom, and it says, "Let the sea set you free." This is from the stamp set. And I stamped it there in the sandy part of that beachy pattern. And then I'm going to put my shells right on top of that pattern paper. Just center it up right above the sentiment. And I'm going to add that small seashell right to the center. I'm going to bring in 3 of these starfish embellishments, and I'm going to put glue on the back, and I'll add 3 of them to my card. Next, I'll take that entire card layer and I'm adding it to an A2 size white card base, and this card is finished. I love how this card turned out. I love all that texture and dimension and depth with not only the pattern paper but on those seashells. So pretty. So for my next card, I'm going to use the same set of seashells, and I'm going to also take this word die, the Sun Kissed Smiles word die from the card kit. I die cut that word die with some white glitter paper. You can see some of that glitter. Here's the paper I used, so shiny and sparkly. And then I'm going to color up just the sun that's in that word die, and I'm going to use some of my Copic markers to color it up. So the center I'm coloring with a lighter yellow marker. This is my Y13 Copic marker. And then for the lines around the circle part, I am going to color up with a darker yellow, which is my Y17 marker. Using the same darker yellow marker, that Y17 marker, I'm going to color just a circle around the outside edge of that center circle, and then I'm going to bring my lighter yellow Copic marker and just blend that in with the lighter color. So there is my sun, nice, shiny, and sparkly, and then I'm going to add that entire sentiment to the front of my seashell. And it fits perfectly on that larger purple colored seashell. I'm going to glue down my smaller seashell in the sea glass color. And I'm going to make this one a shaped card. So I grabbed some more of the Ginger Snap cardstock from my stash. I'm folding it in half. I'm taking the large shell shadow die, and I'm positioning the die so that the left edge is slightly over the fold in the cardstock. And then I'm going to tape that die down to the cardstock with some mint tape, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. And when that comes out of the die cutting machine, it gives you your card base. And now I'm just going to put glue over the top of the front of the card base, and then I'm going to add the decorated card layer right on top. So I'm just going to line it up, press that down really well, and that is how you make your shaped card. And that card is now completed. So there's a look at the finished card. It turned out so pretty. Okay, moving on, I'm using these Scrapbookcom nested wavy rectangle dies. I love these dies because they are layering dies, and I love that wavy shape. It just reminds me of the beach. So I decided to go with those dies, and I die cut 3 layers. One out of the orchid cardstock, that's the largest layer, another one out of the ginger snap cardstock, and then another layer out of that shell pattern paper, and I'm just layering all of those together. Next, I die cut the word die again, and this time I just die cut it with the Scrapbook.com mixed media white cardstock, and I'm using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to color it so that each word is a different color. You can use your Copic markers, you can use whatever markers you have on hand to color this up to make this word several different colors. I'm also taking the word and I'm putting my marker along the outside edges just to color in some of the white that was along the outside edges. And then I'm going to take a darker yellow marker and do the same thing that I did in the previous card and just give the sun rays a darker yellow than the inside circle part of the sun. And then I decided I wanted the top of the word sun also to have that darker yellow, so I'm just going to go over the top of the word with that darker yellow ink and then blend it in with the lighter yellow ink. Next, I added that word to a white shadow layer. Next, I'm going to take the holographic glitter shell stickers and I'm sticking them onto some white cardstock, and I'm going to use my scissors to cut them out of the cardstock. And the reason I'm doing this is because those holographic stickers are very thin and flimsy when you take them off of the sticker backing, so I wanted them to be a little bit more sturdy. So I can either put this sentiment right on the front of my card layers, but I felt like the sentiment wasn't standing out as much as I would have liked when it's on top of that busy shell pattern paper. So I wanted to mute that shell pattern paper just a little bit. So I took a piece of vellum and die cut it with the same die that I die cut the shell pattern paper with. And I'm going to use the vellum underneath the sentiment so that the sentiment stands out a little bit more. So I'm going to put glue on the back of the sentiment and I'm going to attach it to the vellum. I have not attached the vellum yet to the card layer. So first I'm just going to put the sentiment where I want it on the vellum, and then I'm also going to add the shell stickers on to the vellum as well. Next I'm going to attach the vellum to that card layer. And to do that, you don't want to put glue on the back of the entire piece of vellum because the glue will show through that vellum. So now that I have the sentiment and the shells attached to the vellum, I'm just going to put glue on the back of those die cut pieces on the vellum. And then I'm going to attach that to the card layer. And that way you won't be able to see any of the glue. Next, I'm going to take that entire card layer and add it to an A2 size white card base, and then this card is finished. For my next card, I'm going to create a little beach scene, and I'm bringing in some border dies from Sunny Studio Stamps. These are the nature border dies, and I'm using the wavy border, and I'm also using the ocean wave border. So I have this piece of pattern paper that looks like the sand, and it's cut down so that it's 5 3/8 inches wide, and I'm adding the wavy border to the pattern paper, and I ran that through my die cut machine, and that gives me a little wavy top to the border. You can also see there I've already ran the wave die through my die cut machine using some sea glass cardstock. And I'm just adding ink to the edges of that wave die cut piece using some matching ink. This is the Oasis ink from Scrapbookcom. I also cut down a piece of the star pattern paper to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and I'm adding some of that same Oasis ink to the edges. This pattern paper has like a very light blue background, and then it has the yellow suns on top, so I'm just bringing out more of that blue in that pattern paper. Next, I'm going to use my gingerbread ink from Scrapbookcom, and I'm going to add ink to the edges of that sandy pattern paper that I created the border from. And now I'm ready to put this card together. So I have my pattern paper as the card background, and I'm going to first add the ocean border to it. I'm going to snip off the edges on the left and right side so that it is even with the sun pattern paper. And then that sandy pattern paper is going to go right at the bottom, and I'm going to cover up the very bottom part of that ocean wave border so that it looks just like a seamless piece. And if the piece is too long, just turn it over and take a pair of long scissors and just trim off the excess. And then if you wanted to, you can take the other piece that cut and you can add it for extra dimension to your card. And I'm going to go ahead and do that at the very bottom. I will put the smaller piece there flush against the bottom edge. And then I'll just trim off the little bit of excess there on the left side. Next, I'm going to take the umbrella, I'm going to tuck it in the very bottom sandy border. And then I'm also going to add the beach chair. I will also add some seashells and a sand dollar, and I'm going to just cut them out of this pattern paper. If you wanted to, you could stamp them and die cut them with the stamp set, but I'm just going to use the pattern paper, and then I'm going to glue them down to the sand. I'm also going to add a sentiment. This sentiment is from the stickers. It says, "Sending you waves of love and happiness." And I'm going to add the large sun puffy sticker. I'm taking the sticky off the back with my Pink and Main powder tool. And then I'm just going to add some foam to raise this up even a little bit more than it is, because I want some of the raise to go over top of the sentiment. So I'll go ahead and remove that foam, and then I'm going to place it so that some of those rays are overlapping that sticker a little bit. Next, I'm going to add this layer to an A2 size white card base, and this card is complete. So here are the 5 cards that I created with this month's club products. I would love to hear which card is your favorite. Leave me a comment down below and let me know. If you are interested in joining a club, please check the link in the description box below. And I'll also have a link to my blog, which will have some up-close pictures of all of my cards. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.